What is the most unhinged way you've gotten back at a family member? He deceived everyone for decades. So I got him banned from his home country, and divorced from his wife. My mom got a frantic call from my uncle's best friend to say he had been arrested. Apparently, an ex-girlfriend had accused him of assault, but she was just being vindictive because he broke up with her. My uncle, Chad, is obviously innocent. We all love him. He is our charismatic, friendly, outgoing, loving uncle. He would never hurt anyone. The family all send money for legal fees. They are in France, and we are in South Africa. The best friend sent us all the updates, but nobody ever thought to Google anything, as we were getting it from the source. He was found guilty and the family was devastated. We all send money for an appeal. This goes on for 2 years and then we get the call that he has been found innocent and released. After his release, he meets Lucy, who is originally from Canada. Lucy is lovely and comes from a super wealthy family. He is so charming and convincing. They are married in less than 8 months, a huge wedding in France. Then suddenly they are having separate honeymoons. He was going on a honeymoon in his home country, Namibia, and she was going to Canada. They would then meet up in Brazil. He stayed in Namibia for a couple of days and then partied with us in South Africa. We teased him that he took his wife's surname, and he said that is what she wanted. She is the boss. Ha ha ha. Not long after, we find out he cheated on his new wife. I was floored. I have looked up to him for many years and he cheated on his wife during their separate honeymoons. I was disgusted. I saw him once after that. He told me he was unhappy in his marriage along with a bunch of other excuses. He eventually found a new wife and had 2 children with her. I honestly couldn't care less. A couple of years go by, and I get a message from him. He is getting divorced and is coming to South Africa. He asked if he could crash on the couch. I say sure. He is still family. I haven't seen him in maybe 10 years. Maybe he has changed. He arrives and we have a blast. He hits it off with my fiancée. He is funny and happy like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. He tells me they were both cheating. The relationship was extremely volatile. They were always fighting and on edge. They are toxic to each other. She was a total control freak. He is on Tinder and sleeping with strangers, on the prowl. He leaves for a couple of months to travel around South Africa. Comes back, and leaves again. We don't mind. He is fun to have around. One of the weeks he is in town, he meets my friend Jane. Jane is a gorgeous, wild, fun, out there. They hit it off instantly. He asks her out for a drink, she says yes. She tells me the next day that they were having a great time, but they must have drank a lot because she can't remember much of the evening. She vaguely remembers Chad going home with her. They must have slept together, but she just can't remember. This is not unusual behavior for Jane. She has a chronic drinking problem. She will get drunk and go home with men all the time. I have learned the hard way not to bring this up. Also, we are all 40 plus. I am not going to start telling other adults how to live their lives. I am definitely not a saint. 2 days later Chad has to fly back to Namibia and calls Jane from the airport. We are sitting together and having lunch. Chad says that he is so glad he has photographic memoirs of their time together. She is confused. He then sends her all these intimate photos of her, unconscious, lying on the bed. Put in different positions. She just starts crying. She doesn't show them to me at first. She tells him to delete them immediately, and he just laughs. She is furious and embarrassed. She starts reflecting on the evening, trying to remember details. She digs through her handbag and finds the receipt. The cheap jerk left his wallet at home. She looked at the drinks they bought. Definitely not enough to get a seasoned drinker blackout drunk. I am furious. Jane is furious. For some reason, I think about his assault conviction and Google his name. Holy S. I wish I had done this 20 years ago. At the top of the Google search, Namibian assaulter released from jail in political blunder. We read this article in silent shock. The truth is, 2 years before being caught and convicted he met a woman in a nightclub. He put substances in her drink, took her home, took intimate photos of her, and then assaulted her. She went to the police the next day. Luckily there was DNA. 2 years later he gets arrested for drinking and driving. They take his DNA, and bam, it's a match to the assault. They have all the surveillance footage and the photos on his phone. Easy conviction, even though he had tried to convince the courts they were dating and she was a jilted lover. His story about being innocent and released is all made up. Some politician who was trying to make a name for himself decided to release 100 non-violent criminals. Chad got on the list somehow. About 8 months later they realized their mistake, re-arrested him, and extradited him back to Namibia, hence the separate honeymoons. While in Namibia he changed his name and took his wife's surname so he could get into Canada. They don't take convicted felons. I tell Jane we need to go to the police. She says absolutely not. She has dealt with South African police with assault before and claimed it is worse than the actual event. I tell her I know someone, an ex-policeman, who can help her. We end up getting into a huge fight. She blames me for introducing them. She has had a couple of drinks on top of this devastating realization, slaps me in the face, and leaves the restaurant. I was beyond furious towards Chad. I sent him a message saying that I knew he had influenced and assaulted my friend and I knew about his real past. He is despicable and disgusting. His response? I am so over your drama. Does this look like she is influenced? And then proceeded to send me all the intimate photos of my friend. I was physically ill. No one wants to see photos of their friend like that. She refused to take my calls and that day was the beginning of the end of our friendship. I was haunted. This consumes my thoughts day and night. I decided to message his wife. I say I am so sorry about your divorce and tell her all the stuff he has said about her. Well, I came to find out that there was never a divorce. They are having issues with his infidelity, but he promised it would never happen again. He has a therapist who has advised that he should come to South Africa to find himself. I tell her exactly how he is finding himself. She breaks down and tells me everything, from him intimately harassing her, hiding cameras in their bathroom to film them showering, and getting one of them pregnant. There was a huge court case because he denied it was his and refused to take a DNA test. The court made him take the test and he is the father. She sends me all the court papers, reports from the therapist, etc. She also sent me screenshots of their conversations. Message upon message of him saying how much he misses her and how this trip will save their marriage. He misses her more and more every day. All the while telling us that she is crazy, abusive, controlling, and cheated on him with his best friend. Spoiler alert, there is no therapist. He created a fake Gmail account and sent reports to his wife on his progress. The therapist basically said she must forgive him for his infidelity because he had a traumatic childhood and he is actually a super nice guy. If I wasn't his therapist, he would be my best friend. I kid you not, that was in the report. I am not sure if his wife was just really gullible or hopeful, but I saw it the minute I opened the first email. I mean, the idiot even made the same spelling mistakes and used the same colloquialism. I plot and plan, what is the worst possible thing I can do at him? I am all consumed. In South Africa, you can pay someone for anything. But I am a big believer of karma, so I know I can't use any nefarious means. I realize I have copies of all of his documents. Passports for Namibia and Canada, his ID with his original name on it, and bank statements showing he had loads of money while he owed his wife money. Before he left, he took the proceeds of a car they sold. It was meant for the farm, but he told her he needed it for his sabbatical. He would flip cars in South Africa and double the money. Then I remember, he changed his name and took her surname so he could get into Canada. So for about a year I went backwards and forwards in my head. Do I report him to the Canadian immigration? What will be the repercussions? I was troubled and torn. I am not a malicious person. I was still pissed off and felt like I needed to do something. I am a person of action. Then I heard he had done the same thing to someone extremely close to me, Annie, during the same period as Jane. She only remembered a year later after extensive therapy. So I sat down in front of my laptop and wrote the most detailed, factual, devastating letter of my life. My hands shook the entire time. I put it all in there, the French assault with links to all the newspaper articles, screenshots of messages to me showing he is distributing intimate pictures without consent, which is illegal in South Africa as well, but not much enforcement. A full timeline of his life, highlighting his name change to deliberately deceive Canadian immigration. I made it very clear in my report letter that his behavior had escalated, without recourse. I did not include the information or correspondence from his wife. Even though she knew of his deception, I didn't want her to get into trouble. I pressed send. It was 100% anonymous, so I never got a response. I just carried on with my life and helped Annie get better. Jane and my friendship deteriorated beyond repair. She deliberately started dating my brother and has turned him against me. I only told Annie what I did this year. I have kept it a secret for about 3 years. I know he has not been able to go back to Canada at all. Banned for life. Part of me feels sorry for his kids and a bigger part of me thinks I did them a favor, especially his 13-year-old daughter, who he had started saying strange things about. I am friends with his ex-wife on Facebook. By the looks of it, she is happy. Has a new guy, and the kids are happy.